Welcome to Horn's Eye Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these is less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. And just so you guys know, it is negative 33 outside of my studio here with the wind chill. I've got a little portable heater in here and I turned it off just for you, so you wouldn't have to hear this annoying hum. So I'm going to be moving quick and getting through the material just like always. All right, tonight going to talk about something a little bit different and wanted to talk about the similarities between the Delphi case and the Idaho 4 case. So before we get started, though, important, this is for entertainment purposes only. These are just my opinions. I'm not saying anybody's guilty or innocent. We're just talking about a case or cases in this case that interest us. So that's for a court of law to decide. So most of us that follow true crime know about both the Idaho 4 case as well as the crimes in Delphi, Indiana from back in February of 2017. Given the fact that one case is a little more than a year old and the other case is now almost 7 years old, some of the community, out there in the true crime world just isn't as interested in Delphi. But it's got a lot of the same strange goings on that we're very used to in the Idaho 4 story, if not more. I mean, honestly, this is over the top. I've been doing a lot of videos on Idaho 4, but I did take a poll on the community tab of the channel to see what other crime stories interest you. And overwhelmingly, you guys said it was the Delphi case. Plus, I've been reading it in the comments as well, and it does interest me. So I definitely would like to do some more on Delphi and thought this was a good way to kind of bridge the gap. Because there are quite a few similarities. Now, when it comes to these two communities, they're both pretty small in comparison to anybody that's even close to a metropolitan area. Moscow, we know, has a population of about 27,000, and Delphi has only 3,000. But when you take the college kids out of there, they're quite a bit closer. But still, Moscow is bigger, but it's still a relatively small town. And these are both in very rural areas. So if you take the university out, like I said, they're somewhat closer. But we know if you follow the Idaho 4 case, there is no taking the university out of Moscow, which is one of, I think, the reasons why some things have been going on. Strangely, there is one odd coincidence that I found when I was researching the Delphi case. This is crazy. An incident in February of 1887 in Delphi involved a missing young girl from a prominent family in the area, and this started a horrible chain of events in Delphi, Indiana. So the crazy thing, though, is the family's name was Mabbitt. And I thought when I read that, I said, wait a second, that sounds awfully familiar with, the coroner in the Idaho 4 case is also named Mabbitt, spelled a little differently, but pronounced the same. And I know it doesn't mean anything, but I just thought, what a really weird coincidence. That's not a very common name. So I thought you would like that. The fact that there's a gag order on this case, on both cases is another huge similarity. And in my opinion, a perfect reason why cases need to be transparent, because these two are not, and both of them are a total mess. So, that's, what should be happening is transparency so everybody could see what's going on here. But that's not the case. Another common thing is that these cases both involve a suspect that's in jail, and one of them's actually in a prison, awaiting trial And the community among us is somewhat polarized. You're either on one side or the other. You're either 100% guilty or 100% innocent. I hope that most of you fall there somewhere in the middle, which is where we're just not really sure. We need to see some more evidence. But I think that's the more healthy way to be. But we do see people that are very polarizing, and that's how it is with both cases, Richard Allen as well as Bryan Kohberger. Now, Kohberger, as we know, was arrested about a month after the crimes, but Allen was arrested 6 years later, which is, definitely strange. There were, major concerns that I have in both cases when it comes to the evidence that they have against these two. I have my doubts, and I think a lot of people do, and I think that's what makes both cases fascinating, because you just want to learn more about it and find out, is that person really guilty or not? It's just, I think, human curiosity. Another major similarity they have between the two of them is the way the police are being looked at. Now, whether it's true or not, again, I've always said I'm not one of these people that likes to bash law enforcement, but in both of these cases, there are some really, really suspicious things going on. And in the Delphi case, one of the investigators was actually murdered right in front of an FBI office. I mean, really wacky stuff going on in Delphi. So again, if you're not familiar with it, you may want to bone up on that, because we're going to be talking about it here, and hopefully you guys find it as interesting as I do. There are shady characters in the Idaho 4 case that we know, have made me do quite a few videos, and there's thousands of them out there by other creators. It's really crazy how many people had a motive in that case, the means and the opportunity. So really, really weird. But with Delphi, there's just about as many, if not more. There was a Franks motion that Richard Allen's attorneys had submitted to bring up the possibility of a cult in the area that are made up of people that follow a Norse religion that they call Odinists. At first, this just seemed crazy, and there were people that they identified as being potential suspects that may have had something to do with it. And a lot of people just blew this off. It just seemed ridiculous and outlandish. But then it turns out that some of the stuff that they talked about was true, involving these prison guards with these Odinist patches on their uniforms. And they really had them. They had to remove them, and it was quite the thing. So it's really, really odd. And so you wonder how much of the rest of it is true, if that was true. So really, really fascinating. Also, the victims in both cases were young. The Delphi girls were 13 and 14. And of course, the Idaho 4 were college students, but still relatively young. And with that Franks motion that was raised in the Delphi case, we get a little bit more insight and information on how the victims were arranged and these odd Odinist runes that were made with sticks on their bodies. So really, really strange stuff. I think very fascinating. Now, if you're not familiar with the Delphi case, I definitely suggest a few channels here. The Defense Diaries is fantastic. Harvard lawyer Lee, she's done a lot of good stuff. Of course, they're both lawyers. And Andrew Myers, another attorney, also has done good work on this. And of course, Grizzly True Crime, she's fantastic. And she's done a bunch of stuff on Delphi. So if you've been a while, go and check one of those out, or a few, and watch some videos and get interested in it again, because I'd like to talk to you about it. So what do you guys think? I mean, it's weird that there are a lot of things that are similar between Idaho 4 and Delphi. And I hope that you'll find Delphi as interesting as I do, and you'll want to watch those videos just like you do with the Idaho 4. I would like to say thank you to the members of the Horns Eye Club. That's our membership here on the channel. You got FHI67, Christopher Ferguson, Sarah, Batshit Crazy, Christine 079, Dovey, Glowy, Justine Cooper, Jennifer. Thank you guys very much. $1.99 is all it is. I kept the price low for you. And so if that's something that interests you, fine. If not, that's fine too. I appreciate everybody that's here, not just the members. I just don't want to leave them out, of course. I've had a lot of people asking me about merchandise. We have merch on the MurderMetalMayhem.com site. The shirt I'm wearing is our original shirt. And then the other shirt is the graphic there on my hoodie. It's the zombie shirt. There's some good pictures of them. Go murdermetalmayhem.com if you're interested in any of that. But thanks again. We'll see you next time.